afternoon from Los Angeles, and welcome to Stock Market Today. Today is Monday, January 13th, and on today's show, we're going to be taking a look at three leaderboard stocks. We have Lululemon, Dexcom, as well as Vertex. But first, let's take a look at the major indexes. It's Alyssa Quorum here, and today I'm joined by Ed Carson. And Ed, we saw another session in the green across the board. Pretty incredible. The Nasdaq gaining 1% for the day to lead the major indexes. The S&P also up 0.7%. What do you make of this bull market that just keeps on charging ahead?
Yeah, it's pretty incredible because, coming into 2020, a lot of people were talking about probably, hey, a pullback would not be a surprise, but we just keep on hitting new highs for the S&P, new highs for the Nasdaq. The big tech names are really leading the way. Apple was up 2% or so today. Tesla was up like 10%.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them, so a lot of it's those big techs. Some of the downside, some of the medicals weren't great. There's a lot of news out of this JP Morgan conference, some of which we'll get to later on. And also the HMOs, the health insurers might be getting hit by some political concerns once again. But you look at this numbers, the only question is, are we going too far? Well, we keep on running to the top of the channel and then having one down day and then moving higher. So as long as it's going, let's just keep going with it, but just be aware that we could have a pullback.
Yeah, that's right. We will be watching very closely, as we have been, the action for the major indexes and also the action for leading growth stocks, because that's also a very big tell. But we do want to take a look at three names that are on our radar right now. We have Lululemon, which gained about 4.4% for the day in heavy volume. Now really charging above that 240 price level, and also nicely above its most recent buy point. So I guess now is the stock extended.
It's not technically extended because it's above a 3 weeks tight. It's only a couple percentage points above that. And the news on it today was that they guided higher for the holiday quarter. And ironically, that consolidation started because the stock fell after it gave guidance for the holiday quarter. It wasn't as strong as people wanted, and it turns out, well, I guess the guidance, the holiday quarter was pretty good. The thing is, though, is you can see sort of that red line. That's the 50-day moving average, whether you look on that or the 10-week line on a weekly. That's where the stock has pulled back to a number of times, and so we're past a new high, past a 3 weeks tight, which is not a full-on base. So, you could buy it here, but just be aware this has had a tendency to come back to the 50-day line. So, just be aware of that. Be ready to cut your losses or know what you're getting into with this stock right now.
Yes, that's right. And also on our radar is Dexcom, which had an interesting session, was down quite a bit early, rebounded, closed down, I think about just 0.6%, saying its Q4 revenue was well above the consensus, and 2020 guidance for revenue that was above views at the midpoint. And this is a company that has been turning in really strong revenue growth, so that says something. What do you make of the fact that it was able to close well off of its lows for the day?
You're always going to have tests, and sometimes it's sort of like when a football team falls well behind, if you can come back from that. We don't want to get too much into that issue. But, it was like this was, going to have tests along the way, and the way it responds is really positive here. Dexcom, again, above expectations on the revenue. They also presented today at a JP Morgan conference. I don't know what they said that may have moved it or not moved it, but nice action back above the buy point. We can't see it here, but on a weekly chart, it had rebounded a couple days before breaking out from the 10-week line. So positive action in that front. This is what you want to see when some bad news or when bad reaction is. We were looking at this at IB Live, and along with Lululemon, so it didn't look so great then, but we wanted to wait to see how it acted near the end of the day. Obviously came back a lot nicer.
Yeah, that's right. It's always a test for investors to have to use their judgment when they see something like that early on, whether or not to wait to the end of the day or even end of the week, depending on the case. So all things to factor in when you are getting tested like that. But for now, Dexcom still well above its 50-day line and hanging in there. And last but not least, let's check in on Vertex Pharmaceuticals. That stock closing down about 1% for the day. edging lower for its third straight session, but it is still looking like it is holding above a 4 weeks tight entry. So we're seeing a lot of these 3 weeks tight or 4 weeks tight entries for stocks.
I mean, which is actually pretty good because because that relative strength line stays up pretty high, and it doesn't want us to wait. I mean, it's like after 3 or 4 weeks, that's it. We got to keep going. I mean, with the market like we've had, it's hard, if you're a really strong leader, you can't wait. If you take a break, everybody's going to run past you. But this one rebounded from the 50-day, 10-week line a few days ago, then it rebounded, then it went through the 4 weeks tight entry. It sort of pulled back a little bit, but it's holding above that. Right now everything's normal so far. I believe that Vertex, if it doesn't, it'll be presenting at some point this week at the J.P. Morgan conference. They could also provide preliminary guidance because a lot of companies did. A lot of them did, and with like Dexcom. So we'll have to see. But so far acting pretty well.
That's right. We could see some more headlines from that sector out this week. And also one quick note on the 3 and 4 weeks tight pattern is we want to see the closes at most, I think, 1.5% for the prior week for a couple of weeks in a row. And you also don't want to see it in a stock that continuously is doing that. You want it to be somewhat unique to that stock for it to really be a valid entry.
Yeah, otherwise, because some stocks like Microsoft have it all the time. It's a very good point, and and we do talk about it in Lululemon. We have a story about that today, and so we talk about it, and there's links about to the 3 weeks tight, so I would definitely check that out.
Yes, make sure you do. And Ed mentioned IBD Live. If you have not yet checked out our daily live stream every morning starting 10 minutes before the opening bell and through the first hour of trade, make sure you do so, and you can check that out by visiting investors.com/IBD Live. And Ed, do you want to give us a few quick words on IBD Live?
I mean, we are looking at all these.
You've been rocking it.
Yeah. We've been looking at all these stocks, and we're just looking at them as they're coming through because we're very interested in it personally, and it's just a really nice collegial environment where we're talking about it, discussing, debating, adding points or sort of like, or maybe, and it's just a great way to look at stocks and get into that room, get that kind of atmosphere.
Right, and getting really in depth, but also if you're newer, don't be intimidated because there's definitely, I think, something to learn no matter what your experience level is. We're really breaking these things down in ways that are easy to understand, and the more you watch, the more you will be in tune with how our team is really thinking about these things.
And we're getting a lot of help from the listeners because they are pretty, hey, why don't you check this out? And go, oh yeah, and it's like, oh boy, that is breaking out. Let's take a look. Let's analyze this. So it's really great for us too.
It is. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for watching. Also, we do have a webinar coming up next Wednesday with Chris and Justin. Make sure you check that out, all about the IBD 50 stocks and our ETF. You can check out more information and sign up for that by visiting investors.com/webinar. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you right back here tomorrow.